Disclosure plan is governments around the world. They've been working with ETs for decades. The disclosure plan is that they're going to leak out information and let the public know more about ETs, even though they in the back room have been working with ETs for decades and decades. So that's the worldwide disclosure plan, meaning governments are going to disclose information slowly to the public. Open contact is when ETs make direct contact with the public. The ETs are going to make 3 public contacts during the period of, I get 2028 to 2033. There are going to be 3 different types of ETs. They're going to be high.
Hi, I'm Lisa Wetzel, and I am here today with Darryl Ng, and I am so excited to have Daryl because he is a wealth of information in everything esoteric. So he's so knowledgeable in so many different areas. I'm actually going to kind of try to narrow him down a little bit and try to focus on some specific subjects, such as galactic influence. We're going to talk about dimensions. We're going to talk about a little bit about sacred sites, orbs and energy codes, and so much more. So, Daryl, thank you for being here. I'm excited about this conversation.
Excellent. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. So, Daryl, I don't even know where to start. I have so many questions. But first of all, because you do this work more as a passion. It's not a career. It's not something that you're trying to make a living at. It is just your passion and who you are. And I think that that's really significant for people to understand, because it's when you find your calling, when there's something that's calling you back home, we have a tendency to lean that way, but a lot of times we also deny it, especially in our everyday 3D world. We're so busy living in our heads and focusing on the next job or whatever we need to do. And by being able to separate from that and truly go inward and find what is feeding us, and being able to stand in that knowledge and the wisdom and bring out that core of who we are is fabulous. So again, thank you for being here. And
Lisa, can I talk on that subject a little bit?
Yeah.
Because I do have a lot of friends who are developing their psychic skills, and what I tell them is to charge for it. Like yourself and other channelers, charge for it. You have the most valuable skill in the world, and you need to know your worth, and you need to charge for it. I know that my services are priceless, but I give it away free because it's priceless, and I don't need the money, and it brings me a lot of joy, and that's what I want to do with my life. But my message to most people out there is, develop your skills and charge for it, because it's the most valuable skills on earth. So that's my 2 cents there.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your support too. Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, so let's just kind of go back to when you really started on this journey and when you started really getting into other than the 3D world. So can you kind of give us a little bit about your history?
Yeah, I've read every single written book in mankind about esoteric knowledge and woo-woo stuff. And then about 3 years ago, I actually participated in a retreat. And in the retreat, we actually had a activation. And during that activation, 4 channelers worked on me. And again, we didn't know what was going to happen. But during my activation, all 4 of them saw vortexes and portals open up. They saw signals, signs pop out of my body. And they all spoke galactic, various light languages too, and they were all verifying what each other were singing. And I'm lying there on the table thinking, who are they talking about? But they're talking about me. And one of the channelers said, "Welcome back, Ambassador." And that just started this whole new acknowledgement on my part about this is my first incarnation on Earth. And I am from a unique galactic lineage, and I am here with incarnated gifts in order to be here during this time to help humanity raise into the fourth density. So all of this is kind of new for me, like a year and a half, but all of my clears have been coming online, and I have been getting verification. What I do is I talk to different channelers and I get them to verify what other channelers have said without them knowing what the other channelers have said. And then I check it with my inner self. So it's been a fun discovery for me, and it's just been a low of fun. And that is my passion, is to find information and to give it to folks.
Mm-hmm. Well, fabulous. So I'm going to jump into, I'm going to I want to go back to the galactic history, but I want to talk about dimensions and densities.
Yes.
So when because this is kind of a situation to where we do have some confusion on what a density is, what a dimension is. My guides, the Akashic records, always they talk about different levels of consciousness. So what my guides call the third three dimension is a level of consciousness. What the fifth dimension is a level of consciousness. But other people have different definitions of what this is. And so so it can be so confusing to people who are hearing this different information. So let's start here. So first of all, what is your definition of the different differences between densities and dimensions?
Yeah. So we got to understand that part of this is just the human language, and different humans use the language differently. But in a nutshell, I would use density as a level of consciousness. Describe density. There are actually 7 densities, 7 levels of consciousness, and they are defined by the channel being raw in the book Channel by Carla Ruckert. In the Law of One, they do the most excellent description of densities that I've ever seen, and it's completely airtight. It completely makes sense. But basically, you have first density, which is like a rock, a table. Everything's consciousness. So first density is like a rock, like that. Second density is like an animal, plant. Third density is a human or a humanoid. Fourth density is an ET race that is of higher consciousness, and then it goes on to fifth, sixth, and then seventh, and then by the eighth you return to all that is. So there are really just 7. So let's park that as densities are levels of consciousness going up to 7 levels. Dimensions are structural frameworks that these densities operate within. And I'm going to give you an example to help break it out. But we've all heard the first dimension's a dot. The second dimension is 2 dots, which makes a line. Third dimension is another dot, which then gives you height, length, and width, right? 3 dimensions of a space. And then you add in the fourth dimension of time, okay? So let's say us humans are in this 4D world of space and time, correct? So you get 4 dimensions of space and time. Now, when we apply density to it, we humans are 3D, third density, right? We're working on shifting into the fourth density. Cross our fingers, we're going to get there very soon. But right now, the human collective consciousness is in the third density. Now, remember what I said before, the dog, our pets, they're second density beings, right? Because there's number 2 density. Animals, plants, they're second density being, right? So I'm giving you an example where a third density being, the human, is with a dog, second density, in the fourth dimension. Because the dog and the human is sharing space space, height, width, and length plus time. Do you see how they're different? Think of it this way. The density is the grade level. The dimension is the schoolroom that houses that grade level.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of get the nuance?
Yeah.
So if you're a third grader, you're in the third grade
Mm-hmm.
classroom. The third grader is the density. The third grade room is the dimension.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have the third grader in that third group room, but you can also have it bring its dog into the third room because it's experiencing height, width, length, and time.
Mm-hmm.
Does that help?
Yeah. 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 So I'm curious because what my records say, and I think that other people have said, is that we're moving into the fifth dimension. So we're basically going from the third dimension, and then that transition state is the fourth dimension, and then we're basically kind of ending up in the fifth. The goal line right now is the fifth dimension. Is that how you see this evolution?
Yes, yes, because the way of thinking of the fourth dimension is that it's really having one foot in the third dimension and one foot in the
Yeah.
fifth dimension.
Yeah.
It really is. That's the best way to describe the fourth dimension.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, so, yeah, I do see that. What's interesting is also that I feel there's confusion on is that, number one, we use the word 3D versus, you don't know if D means dimension or density or 5D because,
Right.
we interchange it with D and say, what D do you mean? So that's part of the human language, right?
Right.
But another clarification that we got to understand is that while we humans are shifting from the third density to the fourth density, we also got to consider that Gaia is a being too. And Gaia as a being has shifted her density up.
Yeah.
And along with shifting her density, she also shifts dimension. Just like when we shift if we're a third grader, we're going to shift into a higher dimension of, we're going to shift into the third grade classroom. But if we're a third grader that's moving on to fourth density, we're going to shift into a classroom for fourth density, which is the fourth dimension. You get
Yeah.
that? So the same thing
Absolutely.
applies for Gaia. Gaia is a living being, and Gaia has actually shifted to a higher density and dimension. And we're tied to Gaia, and Gaia is tied to it, but that's a whole different story. But you understand, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And again, that's the same information that I receive. And I always laugh because to me, like the 4D is the limbo state.
Hmm.
And it's like,
Yeah,
oh, 5D feels so good. I want to stay over here. But then I get pulled back to the 3D. And like the 4D is that tightrope that we walk
yeah.
on, that we're going
The
back and forth on.
4D is absolutely necessary because
Yeah,
the difference between 3D and 5D, it 3D is very slow and it's kind of like over here.
yeah,
5D, you think it happens instantly. It's just like that. If
hmm,
we didn't have that transition of having one foot in of being in 4D, of having one foot in 3D, and we would mess up. We would just think bad things and make it happen. So
yeah,
think of 4D as a training wheels,
yeah,
to help us adjust to 5D. So in some ways, I feel like we give 4D not as credit because we say, oh, it's really just one foot in the 3D and one foot in the 5D. But no, 4D is absolutely necessary for us and our growth because without it, we will fall flat on our face in 5D and just probably eviscerate ourselves instantly.
yeah, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, well, we have to get different. Like you said, the 4D is where we're acclimating to
Mhm.
what
Yeah.
what we're getting ready to walk into, and it's like what I'm seeing as the example is it's like getting used to hot water. like when you're getting in a hot bathtub or something, you just kind of have to ease into it where your
Mhm.
body can adjust to it. And that's what we're doing, is that we're just kind of easing into what we're becoming and letting go of what we've been so tied to. But
Correct.
with that being said,
And I do
I just
and I do
love
want to
this
say that
time.
when we say we're talking about the those of us that are on the cutting edge of reality, that are, tapping the vast majority of humans on Earth. They are not in 4D, nor are they anywhere near there, right?
Mhm.
If
Yeah.
they're very low in density, filled with hate and anger, they're not anywhere near transitioning to 4D. So we are really talking about the very few of us on Earth who have our psychic skills, who are developing our clairs, who understand that everything is within us. That's the group that's transitioning now into 4D. And we're just like, dipping our toes in there, right? Even the most powerful psychics and channelers, that we're all just dipping our toes in there. And we're on the leading edge of humanity for doing that. So there's a very, very small population that's doing that. The vast majority of people in this world, they're still unfortunately stuck in low 3D, right? They're stuck with the angry and the separation of, oh, it's them who's done it to us, like that. So, we're gonna have to give them like a few hundred years to, a couple of incarnations before they can get there, and hopefully they do it before the two Earths split, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's
Yeah.
more than two
So
Earths. There's more than
yeah.
two Earths, but yeah.
Yeah. So the way that I always see it is that we're the first wave. So the way that my guides have explained it is that there's waves of humanity or humans that are shifting into this, and the people that you're describing, those of us that are feeling this shift, are the first waves. They call us the first
Correct.
wavers. And then once
Yeah.
we get over into this, make this adjustment, figure out how to find our footing, then it's going to be time to turn around and help the others to shift and
Yeah.
adjust to move into this space as well. So yeah, we're not all
Yeah.
changing at one time, but and that's okay. The universe knows what it's doing. I'm good with that. So you did mention that you felt like the Earth has already shifted.
Yes.
I think that. I mean, I feel like the Earth has already raised its vibrational frequency and it's already existing in this space. So, how do you think that the Earth's frequency is affecting us, the humans on Earth?
The Earth, because the Earth has shifted, we, the humans on her, are tied to the Earth. So we got to stay close to her vibration. And um, as she has shifted up, it means that um, many humans have to shift with her. But again, some humans aren't going to shift with her. And those humans are going to be incarnated into a Earth-like situation with a matching density level.
Mhm.
Everything's about resonance and matching a vibration. So those of us who are at a higher density level, higher vibration, we are going to be in sync with the Earth, which has higher her vibration and raised her density level. So we're going to be in coherence with that. So we're going to be moving with that. The other folks on Earth, and again, no judgment, if they have low vibration, they're going to shift to a Earth-like Earth, and there are many of them that has a lower vibration. So everything will be perfectly matched and in sync with the vibration of the being that is with the planet that it is, the entity that, because the Earth is alive too, right?
Yeah, yeah, living, breathing creature. Absolutely. So, okay, so I think we got that covered. Thank you for all that explanation. So let's shift to a different subject, and it's basically cellular regeneration. I listened to a an interview that you had done, and talking about you know being able to heal ourselves, but also the shift from the carbon structure to the crystalline structure. I want to talk about that in just a minute.
Okay.
let's talk about what are your thoughts and ideas about the cellular regeneration, and how is that going to affect our health and who we're becoming?
Um, it's going to affect people differently based off of their vibration and based off of their density level. So I'm just going to go into the topic, and so basically you got to look at it this way. Humans have been operating off of a 3D, a third density level of physicality, of Newtonian physics. 3D medicine, let's say, is, oh, I have an aspirin, I take the aspirin. That's very 3D. That's collective consciousness. We believe in it, so the aspirin will work, right? Very basic 3D stuff. If you go a little bit higher in the 3D, the third density mentality, let's say like a 3.8, then you're going to get into stuff like Dr. Joe Dispenza stuff, right? Which says, oh, you can meditate, and when you meditate, that will release serotonins in your brain, and that will impact the hormones, and then that will affect your body, and it will matter in your body, right? Makes a lot of sense. If you raise your consciousness, you raise your perspective, you can tap that type of benefit of cellular regeneration. Again, when I'm talking about cellular regeneration, it ranges from everything from curing cancers to my favorite is looking young and youthful, because it's all the same technique. So you can do that, right? You can meditate, and you can you have your focus take care of an illness, or you can just say general health being, right? You can do that. So that is, let's say, a 3.8 level density consciousness. Now I'm going to push people and say that there are other techniques that are of higher density, and I'm going to even tell you that these higher density techniques come from different ET races, because we are all part of different ET races. So when you kind of acknowledge that, you realize that, oh, well, if I'm like really Palladian, and you don't even have to know that you're Palladian, you can think, oh, I'm completely human, but your background is that you've had Palladian lineage, then by share of the nature is that you are kind of bind and have a connectedness to Palladian healing techniques. It's in your ancestry, so to speak. So we can find out what are Palladian healing techniques, and they will register with the Palladian humans who have Palladian ancestry. And so let's say that's like let's say the Palladians are, like a 4.9 in density level, right? Because as you were saying earlier, we human are in the third density carbon body. Everything's solid, right? Everything's solid carbon base, right? Fourth density beings, they are crystalline body. So they are lighter than us. They're still physical, but they're crystalline body. So they have different properties and different laws of nature than third density beings. So when you're in a fourth density crystalline body, you have different strategies you have different tools in your tool chest that you can use. And just so you know, fourth density beings, they pick the age that they want to age, and they stay that age the whole age. Even if their lifespan is like 700 years, they pick the age that they want, and they stay that age, which I hear is typically like a 35-year-old. But that's just a trait of fourth density beings, is that because they're at that level and they have their crystalline body, they pick the age that they want and they stay there. Fifth density beings, you're getting to a place where it's not a crystalline body, it's actually a light body, where you're really getting so expansive that you really are getting kind of like non-body-ish. So they operate it for a whole different rule. They don't get sickness or aging or anything because they don't really have a body.
Mm-hmm.
So their tool chest is different. So did I answer your question, or do you want me
You
to
did.
go deeper? Okay.
Yeah, I am curious though, because there's a lot of people that really, I mean, this concept between the crystalline and the carbon. You know, people may have heard about it, but they don't really understand the specifics. So, first of all, can you talk about, how is there anything that we can do to speed up the process to move from carbon to crystal?
I do, but I just been instructed to give you a demonstration or a helpful hint of a Palladian cellular regeneration technique that I think a lot of your audience will find fun.
Okay.
Okay, so this is Palladian. Um, know that in addition to the chakras that we actually have chakras in our palms. And actually, when you do this, you can feel the power of energy when you create an energy ball.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want you to think of it this way, that in the chakra of your right hand, there is a yang polarity there, a magnetism of projecting out energy. And then in your right palm, there's the yin, which takes inward, takes inward. That's why when you play with an energy ball, you can feel the vibration of like two magnets. So you feel the energy, right? And what you need to understand is that energy there is so powerful. It is the source. It is the power of source. It is the power of creation. It is the power of creation of all the universe. That's what all of us have in the palms of our hand. Now, once you understand that, you can actually take your hand and redirect it to whatever area you have and set the intention to heal it. You have that power. All of us have that power to heal whatever we want or to regenerate whatever we want. We just don't know that we have it. But like with any skills, you got to know that you have it and you got to develop that skill. So that's a fun one. I think a lot of Palladians there were going to register and like that.
Well, I think that's a great technique, a great thing for people to know about for sure. Because a lot of us do, we want to kind of get away from the pharmaceuticals and mostly, the pharmaceuticals and the side effects, but also being able to understand how our body can maintain its original structure without having to alter it due to outside chemicals. And so anything that we can learn how to use with our own healing ability is significant.
So what I'm getting is that we can really do everything psychically. We can actually all do everything mind to mind. However, because we are in a physical body and we have this physical experience, the more we use our physical senses, it stamps it in. So that's why I'm saying take your hand, know that the power is in there, and then you place it on there. The physicality of you putting your hand on there or a healer putting their hand on there as a emphasis, a stamp to it that stamps it down to reality. The same thing is true that if they do that and they use sound bowls, if they use tuning forks, that is taking care of using the physicality of that human's ear, hearing sensation. So that stamps that technique in there. The very fact, if you hear some of us do light language will also stamp in it because it's using you're hearing things or you're seeing it, right? It stamps it into this reality. So while you're in a physical body, use your physical senses toward your benefit. So you can use it toward emphasizing your healing techniques.
Perfect. So, okay, so how do we know when we have left the carbon body or have traits of turning into the crystalline body?
You will know when you don't ask the question.
Okay, can they be a little bit more specific? Can they give us some signs or something else?
Yes. Okay. I don't know how satisfying you're gonna find this, but moving from third density to fourth density is actually one of the steps is moving from thinking to knowing.
Yeah.
So when you ask that, that's a thinking, asking question, and you're gonna get a third dimension response because you're thinking and you're not feeling it, you're thinking it, so you're gonna get a third density response for a third density question. If you want a fourth density answer, you got to play by the rules of fourth density, which is that you don't think, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, it does make sense, but for our audience.
Yes, I know. It's not going to feel very satisfying. I understand that.
Yeah.
But
Well, and I totally understand that answer, but again, let's change the question around a little bit. What are symptoms of transitioning from the carbon body to the crystalline body?
yeah.
Is
It's actually, I know what your vibration of your question, and I know how to answer. So we are all having symptoms. It's called ascension symptoms. And they are all different according to everyone, right? Because everyone's body and everyone's beliefs is different, right? Some of us are getting a massive dose during activation, and some of us are just living our day and getting activated through the solar flares that are happening, right? So all of us have different combinations that are coming to us. Some of them that we know of, some that we don't know of. So, and then all of our bodies are different. So they're all going to act differently. So the way of knowing it is that when anything happens to your body, be it a flu, be it a pain, I want you to say, goody, goody, give me more. Because I want you to think of it as, wow, I've been waiting my whole life and probably a lot of other previous lives in order to ascend to the fourth density. And what's a little flu? What's a little backache? What's a little tiredness? I mean, this is the life. This is the point in your life that you waited all your life to raise into the fourth density. So if you have a little side effect, like a little headache, a little backache, a flu that knocks you off for a week, say, goody, goody, give me more. It's terrific that it's happening to your body because you are now ascending into the fourth density. You are changing the DNA so that you can get your psychic powers and clear acts. And all these wonderful new things are happening to your DNA in your body. So what's a little discomfort? And actually, when you think about it, discomfort is not discomfort. Discomfort is you mentally thinking that's discomfort, but everything is neutral. If you know how to frame it in your mind, then it's like when you go to a gym and that sometimes you pump up really hard and then your muscle is really sore. Well, a lot of people will complain about the sore muscle, but when I do it, it's like, oh, I had a great workout, that acting in my body, it makes me feel stiff. Like, yeah, I want more of it because it's like I'm getting bigger, so it's how you perceive it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So that was a better answer, or more thorough answer, I should say. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you. Okay. So the other, you talked a little bit about the galactics and the Pleiadians and things. So I'm going to kind of change course just a little bit and focus a little bit more on that. So why do you think that, because you said this is your first incarnation on Earth. So why do you think the souls that are present on Earth at this time have chosen to incarnate at this time?
All the souls on Earth right now have won the galactic lottery to be here. All the ET races, they all wanted to have representation and be here on Earth. I mean, the trick is that anytime any species incarnates into a human body, we get a memory wipe. Part of the deal is when you're born on Earth, you forget where you're from what ET race, whatever like that. And that's actually for us so that we can truly live the experience of being human. If we remember that we're from someplace else, then we're not going to really fully enjoy or feel the experience of being human. So all these different galactic races have volunteered to have their members like me incarnate on Earth right now because of the age of Aquarius, because we're at this pivotal point where we can help the human collective consciousness raise into the fourth density. And we do that, by the way, by balancing the male and female energy. But that is why all the ET species are basically, looking at us and watching what we're going to do because they have skin in the game. They have their members incarnating on Earth, and the members are having memory wipes, right? But they have faith that their members are going to raise in conscious despite having a memory wipe and raise their density level into a place where they recognize that, oh, what they taught me in school is all bullshit. What I really count is to know that I am source internally and I am love, and there's, to decrease the separation. It's all about oneness. So as all of us galactic beings and regular humans find oneness, that we're all together and there's no separation, that will raise the human collective consciousness. So that is why they did it. That is why we do it, is that we do it out of love to help the human collective consciousness raise into the fourth density.
So, okay, so as you said, the galactic beings, they have skin in the game now
Yeah.
because they're all part of this.
Yeah.
So, do all of the galactic species understand this universal collectiveness, the understanding that we're all connected, that energy that travels between each one of us and all of the different galaxies and space and time and all of this?
Yes, they all do, but to different degrees based off of their density level. Now, I'm going to throw in one key spot there that people should know. And again, this is outlined in the channel books by Rawl, the Law of One. And that is that, remember how I explained the 7 levels of density of consciousness? In the third density, there's a unique thing that happens only in the third density. And that is folks, members have to pick 2 options: service to self or service to others. The vast majority, 92%, picks service to others. That's us, by the way. We love everyone and stuff like that. But 8% picks service to self. They get their power and joy and kick out of controlling and manipulating other people. So that is the 2 branches that branches out even to higher density of, most of the ETs are service to others, 92%, but 8% of the ETs, even though they're higher versions of ET, are service to self. So they are going to want to have their agenda going forward. But I mean, I'll just tell you guys that it all works out because by the 6th density, even the service to self has to invert and convert to service to other in order to be in that 6th density. But there is drama. So what folks think here on Earth as evil, there's no evil or good in the world. Everything is neutral. But there is a service to self agenda and there is a service to others agenda. So that is what's playing out on Earth and other worlds because that's the dynamics about it.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of leads into that's what I was thinking is that like in all these other different galaxies and different locations and all of these things, where the Pleiadians and all of these different areas where these beautiful galactic beings exist, have they already transcended from this the way that the the earthlings feel or living their life?
Yes, they have all, like us, evolved into a higher density level. And then when they do that, then they reach higher dimensions. But I do want to circle back to a point in that is Earth is special. The reason why all these other ET races have skin in the game and have their members come into Earth and have this incarnation of a memory wipe and to help humanity raise to the fourth density is that throughout the universe, Earth is special. No place, Earth is an experiment. Out of all the universes and all the planets, there's never been a planet like Gaia, who decided to do an experiment where she will shift down in density and then shift back up. That's never happened before. And vice versa, because we're on Earth, we are also tied to that polarity of difference. So they're all looking at us and say, whoa, those humans are really biting off a lot. We've never seen any humanoids on other planets have that diversity of polarity, of opposites, of extreme opposite, of losing connection to source. And that's why they're all like watching and say, oh, what's those humans going to do? Are they going to blow themselves up? I mean, it was give and take for a while that we didn't really know whether or not the human race was going to make it into the harmonic conversion in I think it's 87. And that's when we kind of made the tipping point and all the ETs go, whoa, those Earthlings are going to make it. But for a while there, it was like, okay, free will, we're going to hands off all ETs off the planet, and we're going to see what those humanoids do. And then we had our dark age, right? We had a period of time where we were just killing each other left and right. And then, the ETs had to follow a rule of you got to let them grow or fall on their own. So there was actually an embargo for a period of time where no ETs can come to Earth because the human had to have his free will to see if it would ascend or descend. But during the harmonic conversion, I hear in like 1987, we actually made that tipping point. So we're going to make it. So no fear for folks here that the human species is going to make it, and we made the tipping point, and we are going to make it to the fourth density. But that's why Earth is so special, is that it was a grand experiment of polarity and separation. And no place else were there any humanoids faced with that drastic condition. So that's why the whole eyes of the universe are looking at us at this experience, saying, oh, okay, we think they're going to make it, right? I mean, that's why they sent in ET species into here to help raise the class curve, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was their secret plan because they wanted to help. So that's how they infused all the star children from different galactic races into Earth to incarnate now, so that we can help raise the collective conscious now during the time of Aquarius now. I mean, so it's all a big plan to help us raise our density level.
Yeah. So, do you think that we're going to become more aware? Like, are the galactic species going to make themselves more visible to us?
Definitely. So there's two things that's happening here. There is the disclosure plan and there's open contact plan. Disclosure plan is governments around the world. They've been working with ETs for decades. The disclosure plan is that they're going to leak out information and let the public know more about ETs, even though they in the back room have been working with ETs for decades and decades. So that's the worldwide disclosure plan, meaning governments are going to disclose information slowly to the public. Open contact is when ETs make direct contact with the public. The ETs are going to make 3 public contacts during the period of, I get 2028 to 2033. There are going to be 3 different types of ETs. They're going to be hybrids so that they look like us and they won't scare us. But they will publicly make a public contact publicly so that, no more, so they're going to, I mean, by the way, they're already here, or ETs are already here. They're just in a different dimension and we can't see them, but they're here. And they can make their public contact anytime they want, but they're not doing it for us. They do not want to instill fear, right? Because they're service for others. So they are holding back into the human collective consciousness registers a non-fear level, so that at that time, that's when they're going to make their appearance, when the human collective consciousness can accept them and not have fear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, it's interesting how many are already here that are in human form. It's I've had sessions with people that I've been going, holy cow, are you kidding me?
Yeah. So can I explain that? So what I just said is on the public scale, right? They'll make the public appearance in 2028 to 23. Prior to that, they are going to contact enlightened folks, folks like us, and quite frankly, their relatives, right? And they're going to contact us. First, we might see them as little spaceships, out there, and go, "Oh, is that really a spaceship?" It's to ease into our consciousness, and then the way that they're going to contact us is through our dreams and through being in trance. Because again, they love us and they don't want to shock our bodies. If they were to physically manifest, and that's a whole process where they would have to lower their density and put themselves into a meat suit, which feels icky to them, and then they were to appear in front of a human, their vibration would be so high that it can actually clash with the human body and make the human body weak. So they, in loving peace, do not want to do that. So what they're going to do is visit the humans through their dreams, or there's a process where they take the human out of their etheric body, not their physical body, and meet them with their etheric body, and then they bring in their etheric body. So there's a neat place dimension that they can meet that does not harm the human body. So that's going to be what your clients and our friends are going to have, is their one-to-one experience, but in that level, so that doesn't damage their body. So again, that's going to be different than Joe Blow public there, who has a little bit lower vibration.
Yeah. Yeah. And I completely understand what you're saying. That completely makes sense to me. So staying kind of in this same realm, but also moving back to the points of our ascension, let's talk about sacred sites. So there's a number of sacred sites around the earth. And, some of us know more about them, some don't. But what this is such a broad question. I'm trying to narrow it down. What creates a sacred site? So why does it become sacred? And then on top of that, why are these sacred sites important to humanity?
Got it. What created the sacred sites is that they are energy points of Earth, of Gaia. Gaia is a being, and she has certain points on her body that are stronger than others. Now, the ETs that help develop civilizations, because before us there was Atlantis, and before Atlantis was Lemuria, and there were two other civilizations. The ETs had that technology of knowing what places on Earth have that energy vortex. So they actually had the technology of knowing to build a sacred site there, to use it as like an antenna, to tap into Earth's energy and to build a structure there that would be like a teleportal or a information conducting out to the ETs. And by the way, those sacred sites also can heal people, right? Because you are tapping the energy of the earth, and you have the technology of building a structure so that you can have med beds or cellular regeneration chambers there. So that's been happening throughout history. So that's the reason why we have sacred sites throughout the world. In addition to that, very important here is that Thoth, when Thoth was around, he set up a grid system around the Earth. You call them pyramids? Call them pyramids because there are pyramids located throughout the Earth, right? The grid system that he had a lot of other ET help, by the way, but he set up throughout the Earth was meant for connection right now, meaning that they built those pyramids way back then so that we will go into the sacred sites right now and activate it. And when we activate those pyramids and sacred sites, it creates a grid pattern. And that grid pattern sucks up the energy of the earth and the cosmos, and it creates a grid that helps power us humans into the fourth density. Mm-hmm. It's all energy. It's all technology and energy in order to help us raise our consciousness into the fourth density.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that it's important for us, those of us who want to shift, to go to these specific sites? Do you think it's a specific healing tool that we should use, or an advancement tool that we should use, or can we receive what we need just by being who we
This,
are.
the secret is to follow your joy. If
Mhm.
it brings you joy to do it, then do it. If you have no interest in doing it, don't do it. Gaia doesn't need you. It doesn't need you. It has enough grid worker. It's going to happen. But if it
Mhm.
brings you joy to know that you're helping unite the grid and helping humanity raise to the fourth density, go for it. It's a lot of fun.
And why not have fun, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So great. That's fabulous information. So what?
I mean, can I add a little thing here? And that I was actually in the sarcophagus of the Great Pyramid recently, and I was directed to, with a lot of help, to bring down the seventh violet ray. And I actually was in there, and I saw the violet ray come down through my crown chakra, and that is for humanity to tap into now. Um, in addition to that, I am directed to go to Machu Picchu
Yeah.
because for a very similar purpose that there's grit work there, and there's something I'm supposed to do there. The way these kind of work is that you actually don't know what you're supposed to do. You just go there and you follow your incense, and then it gets done. You don't sweat it or worry about it. You just have fun. Um, but yes, all of us, if you feel called to go to do grit work, and you will. I mean, we all know what makes us floats our boat. If you feel called, go for it. It's a lot of fun. You'll meet people that probably are in your soul family who rendezvous there, and you'll probably check off something in your spiritual bucket list. So go for it. It brings you joy.
Yeah. Yeah. Fabulous. And a lot of us have been called to go to these places and felt like you just need to sit. You just go and just be, and whatever happens will happen. Don't ever go with an agenda.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
let's transfer the
G, I do want to tell you that there is a benefit to going there, right? Because if you feel called to go there, you got to understand that's a sacred site, and it was built there for centuries for a reason. It has energy and codes there for you to absorb. So, I mean, you should go for altruistic and fun reason, but if you want to go there for practical reasons of, oh, I want new genetic codes, I want to tap the energy of Gaia into my body so I can develop my clairsentient skills more, you can do that. I mean, it's a side product. It will happen because that is the sacred site. It has common collective knowledge of that's a sacred site, so that builds in a pressure, but it also has the power of Gaia's ley lines and dragon lines flowing in there. It has the structure that's built there to make it an antenna. It has the people around you that are going to amplify that. So you will get physical benefits to going there in addition to spiritual ones.
Yeah. So, just out of curiosity, how do you think, and I don't know if you know the answer to this or not, but how these pyramids, because the Americas have, the Native Americans, the indigenous people have built pyramids all around the
They're
world.
all over the
They're,
world. They're all over the
they're
world.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So, how do you think that information came to them? Have you ever
Yes,
checked into?
it was through Thoth. Thoth,
Okay.
known as other names throughout the world, Quetzalcoatl in South Africa. I mean, Thoth basically, being a fourth density being, traveled throughout the world and created pyramids throughout the world. He did that knowing that we will forget about them and we will awaken during this time of Aquarius, and we individuals are going to go there and activate them, which is exactly what's happening now. So that's how they arrived all over the world. And it's like, oh, why are they all built like a pyramid? It's because it was a strategic plan to make the grid system on Earth.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay, so let's jump to orbs. I love orbs.
Orbs. Oh, I love orbs.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so we do talk a lot about orbs, and of course, orbs do have a tendency to show up in photos in different places and different things, and so people are always like, "Oh my gosh, well, there's an orb." So, tell me, what is your definition of an orb, and what is the purpose of an orb?
You're going to blend the two answers together. So an orb is basically a combination of consciousness and information. They are in different proportion in that sometimes you'll see an orb that's like 99% consciousness. So that could be your deceased aunt, right? So that's and that's why we see spirits, as orbs. Because I mean, I don't want to go into ghosts, but when you're seeing them as a physical form, they have to put energy into looking like that way. Their natural being is an orb, right? That's them like in their pajamas, right?
Yeah.
So when you see a deceased loved one that's an orb that's floating in you, that's an orb that's mainly consciousness. In addition to that, or in that, is also a packet of information. Maybe just a little bit of information. But you also have orbs that are primarily information that are sent out by consciousness. So everything is like on a continuum of highly packed consciousness with a little bit of information, or maybe highly packed information with a little bit of consciousness. So they're all around us right now, but we can't see them because they're in a different dimension. Based off of the vibration that you are, your perspective, if you raise it, you can get access to certain orbs, right? So if you have a high perspective, you can actually see the orb that is your deceased aunt or whatever like that. Or if you're a high perspective and consciousness, you can see informational packets that are around you that you can access. Again, different orbs have different proportion of consciousness and information, and they're all around us. They're right for our picking, but we have to raise our perspective enough to know that they're there and know how to pick them, how to communicate with them.
Yeah. So I'm speechless. So I've got 15,000 questions going through my head right now. So if an orb presents itself to me, and like I'm in this 3D world and you and I are talking right now, and so I can't see any energetic bodies that are around me, but there's an orb that is a energy code or has information that would be important for me to know. Can that orb embed the information in me? Can it make itself known so that I get that information? Is that something that it's a message? Is it just information just to be, oh, I'm curious about that, okay, I want that information? Or is it ever information that, no, this human needs this information and this is how we're presenting it to them?
Well, the information is more neutral, right? But let's say it's a orb that is conscious. It's your aunt who really wants to get to know you, right? So that's a different motivation than a orb that's completely information. Or that's completely doesn't care if you like it or not. It's just there, right?
Okay.
Your orb that's your aunt says, "Oh, I want to talk to Lisa. I want to talk to Lisa," right? So your orb that's your aunt can try to lower its vibration to be lower in density in order to be closer to you, which because you're still in 3D vibration, right? So it will try to reach you, but again, it's up to you. It's up to the individual with free will to raise their perspective in order to tap higher vibrating orbs or knowledge.
Yeah.
Perspectives.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. Okay, good. Okay, so we are kind of at the end of this fascinating conversation, which I've thoroughly enjoyed. Thank you so much for your information. I could feel getting downloads and tingling and energy shifts throughout this whole conversation. So thank you.
Yeah.
So is there anything that we didn't cover that you feel like you would really like to share with people before we go?
Just that this reality on Earth is a feeling reality. It's not a thinking reality. We are brainwashed to think that things on the outside make us feel what we feel on the inside when it's reverse. It's what you feel on the inside manifests outside. If you want to manifest something, you don't think about it. You don't think of how to get it. You feel it in your heart as if you already have it. That is the secret to manifesting on this reality plan. It's a feeling reality, meaning if you feel gratitude, if you feel abundance, you will get it. If you think, strategize on how to get abundance, that's not the way it works. It's not a thinking reality. It's a feeling reality. So feel everything with your heart. Have appreciation. If you truly want to manifest something, feel it in your heart as if you already have it. Feel that glee and happiness that you already have it. And that is actually the most powerful manifestation tool that you can have, is appreciation with the feeling that you already have it.
Yeah. Perfect. What a great way to end. Daryl, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us in this very informative conversation. Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you. For those of you that are watching this, thank you for watching. And for more information about my website, how to schedule a session with me, you can jump over to the description in the video, and I would love to chat with you. So thanks a bunch, and thanks for being here.